two for the price of one. Two podcasts in the week. 2 episodes in the week. Couldn't fit everything in on our last episode. So I wanted to make sure I added my 2 cents on the next episode. So for the listeners, you guys get two for the price of one. I don't even know if that makes sense. You just get 2 episodes, okay? Let's just leave it at that. Trying to get all fancy with the wording and the speech. Who cares? It's Can I Be Ernest? It's Ernest K. Once again, and as I stated, couldn't get everything out in that last episode. That was about a good 45 minutes. I think that may have been the longest on record so far for me. So I don't intend on having that type of time this go around. But wanted to touch on a few things, man. Because that's what we do on here. You know, we just random topics. There's just no organization here. We just, whatever pops up in my mind, I list and I try to, get as much info and perspective and everything else, in the minutes that I'm given. I will say this. Let's do sports quickly. We are down to the NLCS and the championship series for the American League and National League. So we have currently the Boston Red Sox playing the Houston Astros and the Milwaukee Brewers and LA Dodgers in the NLCS. I will, follow that intently. Again, I was rooting for Milwaukee Brewer Cleveland Indian World Series. That will not happen. But the Brewers are still in there. They're still alive, and they're looking good. I wouldn't be upset if we got a Boston Red Sox Brewer World Series. Truthfully, the Astros won last year, so they already got a taste of winning. The Red Sox have won. I'm torn with the Dodger series. I'm a Dodger supporter. They haven't won a World Series since 1988. So it's been pretty much 30 years for those guys. It wouldn't be terrible since I am still on my West Coast vibes. We haven't forgotten that. That's going to be the theme here on out. So it wouldn't be terrible to get the Dodgers into the World Series and finally win. They lost last year to the Astros. But again, I root for the underdog. That's just what I do. And the Brewers are, let's face it, they're the underdogs. They just historically they've been the underdogs. And I'm a fan of their roster. And right now they're up in their series against the Dodgers, and may the best team win. Hopefully it's Milwaukee. I'm gonna stick to this Milwaukee Brewer wave right now. So we'll touch base on that, at some point during our next episode. But again, we're down to the 4 teams before the World Series. Don't know why they call it the World Series when baseball is played for the most part in North America, and of course Central and South America, but it's not played all over the world. So I guess that's just America and Americans thumping their chests, trying to be dominant and the superpower that we claim we are. Everything is world. The World Series. Is the world watching baseball? Are people in let me not forget, baseball is played heavily in Japan. Heavily. But these are American teams participating in a World Series. I get if it was like a U.S. team playing Japan or a U.S. team playing, a Southern American team. Okay, cool. That's taking over a couple continents. World it is. But these are domestic teams, man. How worldly is it to have a Milwaukee Brewer, Houston Astro World Series? Seriously, you think people in Spain are watching this? No. But I'm a baseball fan. I digress. I'm not going to shit on baseball. That's just not what we're gonna do here. So yeah, we'll touch on that during our next episode. Um, you know, I before I get into what I really want to talk about, can somebody in Congress? Nope, we're not doing politics. But I will say this: can somebody in Congress do something about these robotic phone calls to cell phones these days? I mean, I just feel hopeless now. I do. I just feel like there's no hope. What are you talking about, Ernest? So I know you guys receive tons of phone calls on your cell from anonymous numbers, numbers with sharing the area code of your residence. Um, they've gotten slick now. It used to be 800 numbers, calling around the clock. Hey, you've won this, or if you would like this payday loan, or you've been approved for this, and blah blah blah. It used to be 800 numbers. Now they're using the area. It's not even just now. They've been using area codes now. They're trying to be sneaky. They're trying to find ways for you to answer the call and possibly, con you into something. Maybe you're revealing your banking information, something of that sort. Cell phones now, even on the call IDs, are revealing scam likely when that phone number hits your phone. And 99.9% of the times, it goes straight to voicemail. Once in a blue, I'll answer because the number looks like something, I don't know, it looks legit. You don't see like, we'll use New York area code. You won't see 212-555-1234 and answer the phone. You'll be a fool to answer that. But you might see a 212, 853-1212. That looks like a business line. So every now and then you might be, prompted to answer that call. But they've got to do something. I can't tell you the amount of calls I receive in a day from numbers that I don't recognize, that all of them say scam likely. And then when you listen to the voicemail, it's an automated voice, or better yet, they hang up. Don't go vote. Did you honestly think I was going to answer the phone? You spent your time calling me, if this is a live human, calling me, and then you don't leave a voicemail. I mean, you're never getting the call back. You think I'm calling you back? So leave a voicemail, and then you can put these numbers on block, and they just call from another number. They find a different 4 digits to call. They'll keep the area code, they'll keep the first 3 numbers, and then the last 4, it's from a different line. They've got to crack down on this. They've cracked down on everything else. They crack down on prostitution. They crack down on everything that really doesn't matter. Because I don't see how prostitution, how women or men, trying to make a living and doing certain things, that might be frowned upon for the moral police. I don't see how that affects anyone. But you can allow everyday hardworking, citizens to be harassed daily, hourly, by unknown companies, it's comical. It's comical, the things that we pick and choose to fight. We'll rid prostitution. We've got to clean up our acts as Americans, but we'll allow harassment and everything else that goes on in this crazy world. We'll allow that. We'll turn a different cheek. We'll allow sexual content on the radio during the morning rush hours when children are going to school. We'll put whatever we want on TV. They allow cuss words now on regular cable stations. The FCC doesn't care anymore. That's A-OK. Who cares? Yeah, we know kids are up at 8 p.m., but so what? This show's drawing ratings. We're gonna show some heavy, nudity and some crass dialogue. Who cares what you think and about your kid? But let's crack down on prostitution. Come on, man. We've got to pick our battles wisely. It's sickening how the powers that be dictate what's of importance and what's not. I'm sure by the end of this podcast, I'm going to have about 5 missed calls from stupid numbers that'll never hear my voice again. Or ever. You can call till you're blue in the face. You can call till the cows come home. You're not going to get me. I'm not answering. And this makes me want to go back to the days when we didn't have cell phones. Oh, Ernest, you're on your retro box. Get with the time, dude. Get with the times. You're always trying to go back to the past. You're damn right. You're damn right. That's why I ordered me a Los Angeles Raider retro t-shirt. Not an Oakland Raiders t-shirt, a Los Angeles Raiders t-shirt. That's why I order and purchase retro, this and that. I'm trying to go back to yesteryear. Because I don't know what's happening. We've lost control. I don't need a cell phone. I only have a cell phone, to be honest with you. I only keep a cell phone because I fell for the in case of emergency ploy after 2001. Because I lived in New York during the 9/11 tragedy. And I didn't own a cell phone before then. And I didn't intend on getting one up until that point. And then that's when it was like, what if another event like this occurs? How do I get in touch with those that matter, that I care about? So I went ahead and bought me a Sprint flip phone back then. And it's all she's written since 2001. 17 years with a cell phone. But I don't remember 2001, 2, 3, 4. I don't remember receiving calls the way I do today. It's a little different. A little different. It was mainly the people in my contacts communicating. So I guess they got wiser and they realized people primarily use cell phones. So companies now figure out a way to, find you. They search you out and they will harass and harass and harass. Because back then, you can call the landline, you'll get the answering machine, and that's that. The same applies now with a cell phone, but I think it's annoyance now. Because I didn't mind coming home to 5 voicemails on my landline from, individuals I didn't know, companies I didn't know, and, I just shrug it off. But I'm annoyed now when I get calls from weird numbers. Man, take me back. Listen, I kid you not, I might get rid of the cell phone. End of the year. I may. I understand I'm an author now. I understand there's ways to, I need, a phone to communicate with A, B, and C. I get that. I totally get that. But I'm perfectly fine with emails. I'm perfectly fine. At least you can control spam and things of that nature. I'm cool with it. I'm serious. 2018 may be it for me. Maybe I'll do something tricky. Maybe I'll wait to 2021. That'll give me 20 years with a cell phone. Maybe I'll put an end to it then. Maybe I'll keep a cell phone. I'll just keep it in the car for the in case of emergencies. That's it. I don't need it every day. I don't. I'm not in demand like that anymore. I'm not in my 20s when I was getting calls around the clock. My phone is quiet most of the time. But they've got to do something because it's driving a guy like me insane. And then when I answer, sometimes I get smart with them. I think we all do, every now and then. Who has time for that stuff, man? Anyway, I didn't get too deep into this topic when it happened. The Dallas police shooting of the victim, both them, Gene or John, I think he pronounced his last name John, when he was murdered inside of his apartment by the officer, the Dallas officer, Amber Geiger. I was bothered, and I did speak on it briefly, but I didn't get too deep on my opinions, my thoughts. Just wasn't that type of party. Because I've now become conditioned to expect news like this on a regular basis. So I'm numb to it now. Now I just kind of, when I hear it on the news, sometimes I brush it off. I do. And this is no knock to the victim. Of course, anyone who's murdered senselessly, by someone who's expected to protect and serve us as citizens, that's no laughing matter. That's nothing that should just be brushed to the side. But I find it often that we, especially the media, they'll make the news for a couple days, maybe a good week, and you don't hear jack. You don't hear jack squat. Same thing applies to, natural disasters. I mean, hurricanes. We'll hear about the hurricane for about a week. All the fear from these newscasters and meteorologists. Seek shelter and stock up on foods and get out of town and all that fear that they instill in the listener and the viewer. And then when the hurricane hits, they're doing things like, they're broadcasting in the eye of the storm, and they're holding on to trees and to dear life to report the news, because all of that stuff is sensationalism and it sells. It brings eyes to the tube. And then they report the death totals. They show all the destruction. And then about a week later, everything's silence. You don't hear a thing. Do you know people are still recovering from Katrina? Do you know that the New Orleans, there's still parts of New Orleans that's still in recovery mode from a hurricane from over 10 years ago? The hurricane in Puerto Rico last year, they're still struggling. Harvey in Houston last year, these places are still struggling, but the news won't cover it. It's old news now. New news is what works. We don't care about what happened a week ago, 2 weeks ago. So again, that Dallas police shooting, that senseless murder, I'm going to pay attention to that as much as I can, if the news reports it or not. So Lester Holt, I hope I'm sure you're not listening, but get on your job, bro, because I need to hear about something. And I use Lester Holt because that's who I watch on NBC on weeknights when I'm in the mood for news. So let's fast forward. I've come across two events that have made news. One involving a white female and the other a black male. Once more, we just can't get out of each other's way as a society. We just don't intermix well. It's the weirdest thing. I have more thoughts on that topic, which I will, probably get into another time, because I'm limited today. But we don't intermix well. This individual, this male, Mr. Tolles, black male, business owner, was trying to enter his apartment loft, downtown St. Louis. And he was denied entry by the white female, Miss Mueller. Oh, it's Mrs. Mueller. No, I'm sorry. She's not married. It's Miss Mueller. Okay. So she denied him entry because I guess he didn't look like somebody who could live in that type of building. It's a luxury apartment. So again, a black male trying to enter his home after whatever long day. He was walking on the block, tried to enter. He had his key fob and everything, and she denied him entry. I guess she was trying to, get into the building as well, but she was in the building, but she was blocking the doorway. And then she had the audacity to ask him, and I saw the video. She asked Mr. Tolles what unit did he live in, because she didn't feel comfortable. This is her building, and she just didn't think he belonged in there. So, I mean, do I need to say anything else after this? Not really. But for some reason, and I don't want to make this into a black-white thing. I really don't. But how do you not? But for some reason, Miss Mueller, I guess, feels entitled. What unit do you live in? So Mr. Tolles responded, I don't have to give you that information. Well, this is my building. You don't own the building, Miss Mueller. And we have to commend Mr. Tolles, because anyone else in that situation, and by the way, he filmed this whole thing on his phone. Awesome job, because if he doesn't film this, who the heck knows what happens after this? What lies come out of Miss Mueller's mouth? And by the way, Miss Mueller was fired from her job after this video went viral. So, good kudos to the job for getting rid of her. She just has to find another way to survive now. You should have thought about all of this before, making a fool of yourself. But, kudos to Mr. Tolles, because he stood there, and he was very calm, and he spoke well. He didn't get aggressive at all. But, the entitlement with certain people in this country, thumping their chests, feeling as if they belong and you don't, because you don't look like you fit the criteria. You don't fit the mold. You don't belong in a luxury apartment in downtown St. Louis. Not you, brother. You have melanin going on in your skin. You don't belong here. That's the attitude, and I don't understand why. Why now? Why does this continue? Why does this stuff continue, man? I get it. The imagery on television from movies and hip hop and all that stuff has tainted the views of others. We'll list them as others, because it's not only white people that feel this way about blacks. So I get it. You are disturbed and bothered and frightened by the imagery of brown people. It's not new. It's been going on for centuries. We bother you guys. But and again, it doesn't apply to everybody. So we always have to throw that disclaimer out there. But I just can't understand for the life of me why it continues. Why did this guy look like a threat? What just call a spade a spade. You were intimidated because it was a black male. And that bothers a guy like me, because, I carry myself a certain way, high standards. I try to speak well. I mean, I've always been told I speak well, but this is not an act. I know how to mingle with any crowd. I carry myself at a level where, I command respect. I don't care about finances. I don't care about whatever. If I'm coming home from work, whether I'm working at McDonald's or at a newspaper stand, or as a delivery driver or whatever, if I'm coming home from work and I'm conducting myself accordingly, and I'm taking my keys out to enter my building, a place that I rent or own, and I'm being denied entry because you're uncomfortable, we have problems. We have problems. you have an issue. Clearly you do. And I just want to commend Mr. Tolles for taking the high road, because I don't know if a lot of us could have done that. I got to speak for myself. I would have conducted myself like Mr. Tolles, but there would have been a lot of condescending tone coming out of my mouth. And I would have been a little more aggressive. Not physically, verbally. Because who are you and who do you think you are to block me from entering my home? Because you're uncomfortable. And you have the nerve to ask questions. What unit do you live in? What? Man, I'm just perplexed. It's tough, man. It's tough just living, and you have to go through this stuff. Like and this is not about singing some sad song about being black, but it's hard for a black man in this country. We're frowned upon by many, even those within our own. It's tough. I'm here to tell you, just living proof, it's not easy at all. There's black on black hate, there's white on black hate, and there's the others that don't like you. We're at the bottom. So it can be a lonely world. It can be. If you don't have, loved ones by you, it can be lonely out here. You have to go the extra yard to prove, your authenticity, just your intelligence, everything. It's tough, and I digress. I don't want to get too deep into that today. But then we have another story that bothered me. A 9-year-old was accused of grabbing a white female in her rear area, her butt, her ass, as he entered a corner store bodega with his mom and I guess his sibling. And there's video footage, of course, from the store. And you can clearly see the young man walking into the store as she's at the counter, kind of slightly bent over, like she was paying for some kind of item or whatever. And you can tell he walked by and he was close, but his hand wasn't anywhere near her. There's a chance his book bag brushed on the side of her. She instantly turned around, and you can't hear anything. It's inaudible, but she made a hand gesture, and you can tell she was bothered by something. To which his mom, the young man's mom, came by and was in her face, and you can hear the white lady say, "I'm a cop." She later denied saying that, but it's on video. So she accused the 9-year-old for groping her. And in the video, it's clear he doesn't do anything of that such. So now here we go again. More accusations, more black, white. I'm just confused. Now, I don't know if the same vibe would have been had by this individual had it been a white male, a 9-year-old boy walking by with his book bag and with his mom. She may have just brushed it off. Oh, he must have, that might have been his book bag. Who knows? It's all speculation. But, I mean, you could watch the video for yourself. Just punch it up in YouTube, whatever platform. The kid walks into the store, and I didn't see it. To the naked eye, I didn't see anything, any groping. I've seen groping. That wasn't a grope. He possibly brushed her backside with his book bag. And she went off. But for her to deny saying she's a cop, she claimed that the mom said that she was a cop, but clearly you can hear that the white lady mentioned being a cop. Not cool. We'll see what happens with that. Very disturbing. These stories are very disturbing, and that's why I try to stay away from it. It just kills my mood. It kills my West Coast vibes. All of that stuff. And I don't need that, man. I don't need that. So I wanted to make sure I touched on this. Um, we will obviously, recap a few things on our next episode. Of course, we're down to one episode remaining on the show You on Lifetime that I've really grown close to. Man, that's a good show. I just watched the recent episode. Very good. Very good. And again, God friended me. The CBS show, we're going to recap a few things with that. And I will note, this is just to kind of liven the mood. This is the first time in TV history where there are more leading black characters, actors, than their counterparts. If I'm not mistaken, this is what I read. I'll do a fact check. Probably don't have enough time to do it now, but I'll certainly have that information on the next go around. But there are more leading black actors this season, this fall season, than any season in TV history. That's what it was. So I don't want to say there's more than any other race. There's more black leading actors this go around, and that's an accomplishment, man. Kudos to CBS. They have quite a few shows. The guy from God Friended Me. You have Damon Wayans Jr. You have Cedric the Entertainer. Tashina Arnold. Starring on some shows. She's known for her role as Pam or Martin back in the days. Good stuff. Good stuff. David and Alan Greer on Fox with cool kids. I mean, it's a good time to be I guess, actor, a minority actor. There's a lot of opportunity, and finally they're being acknowledged. And listen, again, you don't want to always make things black and white, but when things become blatant and you just don't feel as if you're gonna ever get your just due in this world, in this country, you get frustrated, man. You get frustrated. You do want to see people that look like you on TV, at times. It's only fair. I mean, they consider places like New York the melting pot because there's so many cultures. It's so mixed and diverse, and yet you have issues and incidents like the bodega story with the 9-year-old and the lady, and it's just tough, man. Like we've got to find a way to coexist. And I'm not here to sing some peace song. We are the world. Listen, if you don't like me, you don't like me. Simple as that. Ditto. That's how I operate. But I'm not here to make things worse for you. That's not my goal. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. If you choose to feel uncomfortable, that's on you. I'm gonna do my part to just make sure I can coexist. Simple as that, you know. And that's why you have so many introverts out here and people that just stay to themselves and hide behind their computer screen. It's hard to intermix. You just don't know the motives of the person next to you, the person around you. It's tough. It's tough. But this is all about life, man. This is all about being a human being. We didn't ask to be here. We just have to figure this stuff out. And we've done a piss poor job, to be honest. We have. We have. That's why I do like me. It's going to just right into my fingers fall off. I'm just going to type and type and type. I have so much material, man, with stupid news stories like this. I'll just hide behind my computer. I'll be one of those guys. I don't need to intermix with you guys. You guys meaning anyone. I don't care who it is. I don't want to be accused of entering the wrong apartment and then being shot by a police officer. I don't want somebody blocking me from my home because I don't look like I belong there. I don't want anyone accusing me of brushing up against them when I'm just trying to get, some snacks out the store. I don't want any of that, man. Keep all that. I just want to eat French fries, watch some sports, watch a little TV here and there, go to the gym, go on vacay with the fam, and just live. Just live. Just leave me be. Cool? Can I Be Earnest? The podcast. Can I Be Earnest? On Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Catch up on my latest blog on canibeearnest.com. I'm active on there. And, if there's any feedback, feel free to hit me up, message me on there, and I can always give you a shout out on the podcast. Until next time, it's Ernest K. Can I be Ernest? We'll talk again.